Mercedes may have made a step forward in understanding their car at the Spanish Grand Prix, but it turns out they used all of their chips to do it, and there isn't much left in the coffers for any more big upgrades. Mercedes brought a big upgrade to Monaco, as we already know, which was initially planned for Imola before the cancellation of the race. This was an upgrade path that the team started when the car first ran at Bahrain, realizing they needed a change of direction. These things take time to develop though and cost a lot of money. The most obvious change to the Mercedes car was the sidepods, moving on from that zero pod design. It's what everyone was talking about. But in fact, it was the redesigned front suspension that brought a lot more stability and confidence for the drivers. And as it turns out, it was not cheap to develop and manufacture. Mercedes got a little bit lucky with it as they were able to change the orientation without needing a new chassis, which wouldn't have been possible under the current cost cap regulations, but a new chassis is expected for next year. Andrew Shovlin was very happy with the improvements to the car, saying to the Italian motorsport.com, "It's about trying to play with these geometries to influence the aero platform and to try and get a little bit more stability in the car. Probably the new geometry has given us more freedom, because the problem we always had before the last race weekend was to get a good front end when cornering was needed, and good stability on entry when braking hard and cornering. This compromise was always something we couldn't fix. You always end up with a weak rear when entering or a poor front end when exiting corners. So let's hope that these new suspensions take us in the right direction." But as I mentioned before, it comes at a cost, literally. Shovlin went on to say, "Basically we made a new suspension, and suspension is expensive to make and fit on the car. So the reality is, with the budget cap, we are always looking at our situation in this World Championship. We don't know how many things we're going to do. I don't expect to make any leaps and bounds." We know that Mercedes are going to be bringing small upgrades at future races. And these upgrades will be minor improvements to various parts of the car, aimed at improving what the team already has. What Shovlin was confirming though is that there isn't going to be another major upgrade like we saw in Monaco. It's just not possible under the cost cap. He accepts that and he's fine with it because he believes it was money well spent. He went on to say, "What we understand is there is quite a rich development strand that we can start looking at, so our programs are working. The challenge is always to get aerodynamics and vehicle dynamics to work together and optimized, and every team goes through that kind of process." For Mercedes, it wasn't just about putting on new parts and seeing 0.5 of a second improvement to pace. That was never going to happen. In fact, these upgrades they brought were only expected to improve the car by 0.2 overall. But the real improvement comes from having a more stable car, a more stable front end, and then the drivers having more confidence to push the car. So while the outright performance may have only been a few tenths, the reality is the drivers can then extract more. The truth is, Mercedes are already looking at 2024. With the upgraded W14, they now have a platform to build on for next year. And with upgrades coming through the season, although likely not big ones, they can continue to improve the car, push it in the right direction, and hit the ground running next year. Sadly for them though, other teams still have upgrades in the pipeline, including Aston Martin. And Red Bull, well, they're also planning upgrades, which should worry everyone. Thanks for watching this little update. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.